Hey guys, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Natasha Martinez, and this is the daily show where we give you all the latest insight into the world of movies, plus some more insight into what it all means. Kicking off our show today is Jon Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California. We're so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also joining us is Jon Schnepp.
Hey, what's going on? I was just marveling at the fact that we do a live show every day.
He was, like, marveling at it.
It's amazing. We don't have edits. What if I just started swearing? It'd be crazy.
Also joining this live show is Kristian Harloff.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to see everybody.
Why did you tell him that happens?
Hope you're having a great day.
And also joining us is Mark Ellis.
It was awesome to be here because we saw Jon Schnepp get emotional 5 minutes ago, then Kristian creep him out, and he got all those tears back in.
Hey guys, as happens sometimes, something kind of dropped after we had all these beautiful sidebars put together. A little something with Ghost in the Shell. Natasha, what's going on?
Okay, well, timed up with Wednesday night's broadcast of the Mr. Robot season finale, Paramount released our first look at the upcoming live-action Ghost in the Shell movie in the form of 5 new teaser trailers. The short looks only give us a small glimpse at the upcoming movie that stars Scarlett Johansson and Takashi Kitano. Ghost in the Shell hits theaters on March 31st, 2017. Jon, what did you think about the new teasers for Ghost in the Shell?
Stupid. I think it's stupid. No, don't get me wrong. It's seeing that they're putting something out now. That's cool. I am looking forward to seeing what they do with this Ghost in the Shell. That's cool. This strategy, full marks for trying something different. But this strategy of releasing 10-second spots, it just kind of annoyed me. I even had it on a playlist where it successively played them right in a row, but it just felt disjointed and weird and odd. Certainly not shareable very much. So, and it just, when I started to get into it, okay, what's about to happen? Oh, this one ends because it's only 10 seconds. Okay, the next one starts. Okay, I'm starting to get, oh no, it stopped. And it's just, I just didn't like the feeling of it. Very much looking forward to this movie, but this whole philosophy of putting out these micro teasers, did not like them. Admire that they tried something new, but for me, it didn't work. Mark, how did they work for you?
I think the team at Ghost in the Shell was sitting around like a bunch of cigarette executives 50 years ago. How do we sell this to kids? I know. You put it in a digestible 10-second format because that's all their brains can handle, right? So it makes sense. It's the Vine generation. It's Instagram video. It's a quick little tease. Now, I will say that this particular kind of material doesn't really lend itself to like, oh, that's what this movie's about. Oh, that's what this movie's about. It's pretty just somebody walking down a hallway. Now, you do get some cool looks into the tone of what this movie's going to be, but the best part about all of these different teasers is what Schnepp brought to our attention in the pre-production meeting, is that there's a fan edit that unites all of them together, and it looks awesome, like, you know, a real teaser would.
Well, Schnepp, yeah, you did bring that to our attention. First of all, what did you think about them putting out in 5 separate little pieces? But then tell us a little bit about that fan trailer you found.
Well, yeah, the little short nuggets that we all watched, I think they popped up on Mr. Robot, and then they were just like went online. They're a little too short, and they are like I kept expecting, like, I'll buy anything that they're selling, like Ghost digestives. Like, it felt like a really cool commercial, you know, and then they're like, oh, that product is cool. That's a really interesting shot. Everything in it looks amazing. It looks incredibly well shot. But yeah, some fan put together all of those separate shots and used the shell of the original Ghost in the Shell trailer with the music and the numbers and the sound effects. And all of a sudden you're actually watching a real trailer and you're like, wow, this is fantastic. And it ends with the only dialogue, like, what are you, you know, or who are you? And I thought, you know, hats off to the fan trailer who did a great re-edit of these Nugget trailers. As far as the real actual Nugget trailers, I like them, and honestly, it made me feel really excited to see this new Ghost in the Shell live-action movie. Aside from all the, you know, controversy from Scarlett Johansson being cast against type as far as she's not Asian, I think everything else in this film feels on point, especially with B. Takashi being involved. I mean, there's an incredible amount of amazing other actors in there, and it looks fantastic. So now I'm excited to see it.
Kristian, how'd they work for you?
As far as the footage and things that I saw inside the footage, I enjoyed it a lot because this is kind of what I think I was hoping for with Aeon Flux when I saw certain things back then, and that movie was a train wreck. But this footage, the little 10 seconds of everything that we saw, I liked what I saw, but I agree with John, and it's where I didn't like the strategy behind it because I was just kind of disconnected. I'm like, oh wait, now I gotta wait for the next one to start, and the next one. And granted, it's only 10 seconds, but it's still, you're invested for a second. You want to lock in, and I locked in on that fan trailer because it was all that footage that was in there, but really set the way teasers are set with the music by brought to you by visionary director, and like all that stuff. Like you have that in there with the feel, with the original music, and I can't. It gets me excited for the actual trailer when they release it, because I think because of this fan trailer, if you haven't watched it though, thank you Schnepp for bringing this up. You should go and check that out because it does show you what we can expect from this type of movie, just in the footage that does exist. So I really enjoyed what I saw.
You know what would have worked for me a lot better? If they just put together, say, like a single 15, you know, sometimes they put announcement trailers.
Sure.
That's what this felt like. If they just took that last one and said it's a 15-second announcement trailer, and it ends with the two characters on the table with ScarJo there, and the one woman looks at her and says, "What are you?" And it ended right there, I would have went, awesome tease, fantastic little announcement trailer, and I would have been salivating, but just the accumulation of the parts didn't work for me until I saw that fan edit that you showed us.
It's like taking nuggets and you sewed them into a chicken sandwich.
This is something I think I've seen you do. All right, what's next?
Okay, our next nugget of info is it seems to now be clear that Warner Brothers itself was perhaps a little disappointed with how the DC Extended Universe kicked off, and that may go all the way up to the top echelons of the company. According to a report from Variety, Time Warner CEO Jeff Buick said during an investors conference, the DC Comics characters have a little more lightness in them than maybe what you saw in Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad. So we're thinking about that. John, what do you think about the comments made by the head of Time Warner?
Well, I mean, first of all, let's call it like what it is. He's not saying anything that we didn't already know. Like, I'm a fan of Batman versus Superman. I'm a fan of Suicide Squad, but I will be the first person to tell you those movies had room for improvement. They could have been better. They should have been better than what they were, even though I enjoyed them. But it is interesting, though, when you've got the head. We're not talking about Kevin Tsujihara. We're talking about Kevin Tsujihara's boss. When you're talking about the head of the company saying, when he says words that may sound mild, they could have been better. That's actually, to me, that comes across 5 times worse. It comes across pretty stiff. So, Kristian, let me start with you. I often think sometimes in sporting terms, you know, if a QB has a bad game, you know, sometimes it's good for the coach to kind of hold him accountable and try to get a fire lit under him by coming out to the media and saying, yeah, he played a bad game. He's got to pick it up. But sometimes that's not such a smart thing. That can feel like it undermines your quarterback. Was this the right thing for the Time Warner CEO to say?
I mean, using that sports analogy, he's talking to some of the co-owners of the team. So, I mean, I think that, yeah, I'll be honest, because look, it's not like he's the first person to say this. Like you said, like these are other things. There might have been questions from the we don't know. There might have been questions about the particular direction of it too, because there were a lot of reports. Remember when they were letting people go onto the Justice League set? They were letting people go on way before, or not even just letting them go on, but letting them talk about it, which is definitely something that they don't let people do that far out in advance. But they did it because they wanted to show that the tone is changing. They are letting everyone know that the tone is changing. This guy also knew that these reports were going to get out. He's letting everyone know the tone is changing. So I think that it's just part of the overall strategy. I don't think it's something new here that we're just like, maybe he shouldn't have said that because he's hitting his projects. This, to me, is something that they have been announcing to do. They've had this meeting before saying we're changing the direction. Everyone's going to know about it. When they hear about that, we talked to the shareholders about it. We're just going to be saying it again. It's not brand new. This isn't the first time we're hearing about it. So it's not a big deal to me.
Schnepp, what do you think about the comments?
Yeah, I agree with Kristian. He's acknowledging everything that we already know, the course correction, all the little things that we heard about where it's like, oh, Jeff Johns was flown out there. They're rewriting a lot of the script, even though all the set pieces and the action beats and everything are set for Justice League, and they probably didn't change everything inherently within the script, and the tone of it did change. And he's just telling all the shareholders who would have liked to have seen Batman v Superman cross the $1 billion mark, which it didn't, or Suicide Squad cross that $1 billion mark, that it didn't. He's saying, look, we're doing everything we can to make these other movies like Wonder Woman and Justice League cross that $1 billion mark, so that it gets to more people. Like I liked Suicide Squad. I had a lot of problems with theatrical BVS, but I liked the ultimate cut. But a lot of other people did have like extreme problems with it because it got too dark. So they're saying, look, let's lighten it up a little bit, not change the actual tone of what the DCEU is, but not make it everything that it is right now, which is gritty and dark, and there should be a little bit of light in there. And I agree with everything they're doing. So I can't wait to see the new iteration. It'll probably feel exactly like what we've already seen, but just not as glum, maybe.
I love and have a problem both with what he's saying. On the one hand, I love what he's saying because, look, how as a fan are you supposed to feel confident that the object of your fandom is going to right the ship and get things better if they don't acknowledge that there's a direction course change that's needed? So I'm sitting back here as a fan of the DC Cinematic Universe, knowing that it needs to be fixed somewhat, and to hear him come out and say, hey, yeah, we're acknowledging we got to make these things better. These things can be better. We're going to make them better. I love hearing him say that. I think it's a battle call out to the producers, the directors, the actors, everybody involved with this. And especially, I think it was a signal flare out to the fans. When the boss is saying it, we're paying attention to this and we're going to do something about it. The thing I don't like about it is the thing that has been driving me crazy about this for a while. It's from fans, pundits like ourselves, the studio execs. Are there problems with Batman v Superman? Yes. I like the film, but yes. The problem wasn't the tone. I get it. Maybe the tone could have been better, but the tone didn't make the Martha conversation that so many people have a problem with. The tone doesn't have that awkward Superman and Lois frolicking around in a bathtub scene. The tone didn't make Lex Luthor shove a little gummy into a senator's mouth.
The tone there, that example did.
Well, but it's not dark tone.
Right,
that wasn't dark tone.
Dopey tone.
You're talking about the script.
We're talking about the script. So if number one, if Warner Brothers thinks that, just make it lighter and everything will be better, then that's not good news. Right. If fans think just make it lighter, and then we're all in for a rude awakening. Yeah. They need better scripts. Yeah. They need better story progression. It's enough to get guys like me on board and love it, but it wasn't enough for most people. So I love what he said, and I'm a little bit nervous about what he said. Anyway, Mark, what was your reaction to this?
I think it was a really smart play by Bukes to do this, because you got to remember who he's talking to. He's talking to investors. I guarantee you nobody at this meeting was dressed in cosplay as Batman. These people wearing
I'd love to see
suits.
That. Yeah.
They eat at Morton Steakhouse every day for lunch. They have a lot of money, and they're the ones that are ponying up some of the cash to get these movies made. So you have to concede something. And even if he doesn't say, the problem was the script, the problem was in this act, the problem was I hate the term Martha being such an integral part of Batman v Superman, he did say that the creative can get better. And that's a big umbrella term that I think everybody who's an investor realizes, okay, we can do better in the formation of these movies before we actually get them on screen. He also did something else very smart when he talked about how excited everybody was about Ben Affleck being Batman.
Right,
so he did say some good things. He didn't go in there and just rip DC to shreds. He said that they can make room for improvement, which I think is smart when you're talking to money people who know there's a problem. You can't sugarcoat this stuff. Okay, but you also don't have to acknowledge that, and that sucked, and that sucked, and that sucked. You can say we can get better, and I think investors will respond to that more favorably than if you were totally critical about a movie or if you just acted like there was nothing wrong.
I just imagine the tone and the atmosphere, if you will, the two different conferences. Over at Marvel, you got a room full of investors and people. Kevin Feige walks out, and it's like Steve Jobs coming out.
Popping champagne.
Because everything's going awesome.
It's like Jordan Belfort and Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. What's up, Marvel?
He just does blow off something. They're ready to go at Marvel. DC, it's like, okay, we have El Pollo Loco's catering today.
And then the DC, they come out and say, since the investors are... so it's a kind of different atmosphere. They got to get this thing turned around, and I think they will. Okay, what is next?
What's wrong with El Pollo Loco, Mark? Come on.
I actually love El Pollo Loco.
I love El Pollo Loco. Okay. According to THR, DreamWorks Pictures and Steven Spielberg have officially pulled the plug on their horror movie titled Haunted. Sources say the script was apparently the main source of contention, as 28 weeks later, director Juan Carlos Fresnadillo and writer Scott Z. Burns did a page-one rewrite that caused a seismic change in the story that is no longer the project DreamWorks signed on to make. The movie was only 5 short weeks away from going before cameras. Mark, what do you think of Spielberg and DreamWorks canceling Haunted so soon before principal photography?
Natasha, I think DreamWorks ordered El Pollo Loco and somebody came back with Taco Bell. And they're like, this is not what we ordered. What Mark, it sounds like to
what
me.
Is wrong with Taco Bell?
So there's nothing
what
wrong.
Is wrong
it's
with
they
it?
ordered Del Taco, which I've never been to in my
Fourth
life.
meal, son.
Doesn't look like I'll ever go to see The Haunted either, at least not in this current incarnation, because because it does seem like somebody decided to write what they wanted to write, which is fine if you're an artist, but that's not what was agreed upon. When you have these meetings, they want to see a script that was talked about in the room, and if it comes back and it's that violently different, then this is one of the situations where the studio is not interfering with the movie. They have to make a call because it simply isn't what they wanted to pay for, and if it's not that, then they shouldn't make the movie. I would much rather see them take a breath, rework something as interesting as what Haunted could be, and focus on that, as opposed to like say, just try to rewrite it on the fly, because that rarely works. When we see movies where they had to mess with the script as they were shooting, it's not going to work like that. So if they have to step back, I think it's a smarter play than to just go ahead and hope everything solves itself.
Kristian.
Look, like Mark said, you paid for one thing that you thought you were getting, and then they gave you something else right before you're ready to go. You have the right as a studio to say, no thanks, that's not what we asked for. It's like, yeah, we hired you on, but this is the product we thought we were getting. And it's not like they had the director come in and they start shooting it, and then there's kind of some changes like with his direction, things he wanted to do. They would have agreed on this up top. It's like, well, if I want to make my changes to the script, then you guys are going to be okay with that. And then DreamWorks would decide whether or not they want to sign off on that up top. And that clearly wasn't what happened here. So I think the studio is absolutely in the right here for doing that, because it's a matter of saying to them, this is the product we thought we were going to put out. And that's not what they're getting. So a lot of the times when we're talking about some of these movies where the directors or writers are perhaps getting bullied by studios, I don't think this is a case of that. I think this is actually something which is a studio wanted one thing, got another, and said, we're good.
Yeah, I think it's like you're in the mood for steaks, you hire a chef.
Yeah.
And you're told you're going to get, like you were saying, Mark, a Morton steak, and instead they bring out Sizzler.
Right.
And then when you raise an objection about what you're
What's the
getting,
problem with Sizzler? Come on, everybody.
and when you raise an objection about what you get, the chef goes, I'm an artist. You should just let me do whatever I want to do. And you're listening, no, I wanted Morton's. Right. And I think that's kind of the case. There is a lot of struggle and a lot of discussion in the fan communities, rightfully so, about where should that line of power be drawn? When should the studios step in and assert their rights? When should an artist be given more freedom to do their art? And there's always that little cosmic balance. I think this is one of those situations where it's clear Disney had a movie DreamWorks, I should say, had a movie they wanted, and then they were kind of handed a movie that wasn't what they had ordered. And they say, you know what? This isn't what we signed up for, so no, this isn't the way we want to go.
John, it's kind of like if a fan tuned in to watch Movie Talk, and instead we just talked about restaurants for 45 minutes. It's not what they ordered.
All I'm going to say is if that guy cooked that Sizzler, I want him in a Batman cosplay outfit. It's like, this is the way I do things. This is what I do. I express myself this way. Take off the mask. It's a Joker mask. Yeah.
It's a mask.
Or maybe it's Gossamer from the WB cartoon.
If somebody could give me a picture of you in a Batman suit barbecuing a steak,
it's already happening right now.
Post that on my wall.
If Batman barbecues that much, there's no way he's got the abs like the new Tex suit.
No,
there's going to be a little bit of a
Well, there's a couple of different versions of Batman. The Sizzler Batman.
Hollywood Batman.
The
Hollywood
Paleo
Batman.
Batman. He's all extra six-packed out.
Ruth Chris Batman.
That's right.
The
extra butter peppercorn Batman.
The current Val Kilmer Batman. Oh,
Anyway.
I love
my
Val.
God.
If I can be
Love
serious
Val.
for one moment. You know what?
Val Kilmer.
He did. Val Kilmer was a good Batman.
I love
I
Val
didn't have
Kilmer.
problems with him. And George Clooney's a good actor. Come on, guys. Yeah. Anyway,
Badass.
you know what?
This is how we get sidetracked.
We tangented, but I'll reel it back. You know what? I have a question though. Did the studio okay? Because it just sounds weird to me that all of a sudden Scott Z. Burns and the director are doing a page one rewrite, like a few weeks before they're ready to shoot. That just can't happen unless the studio itself agreed to hire on Scott Z. Burns. The screenwriters just don't pal up and be like, yeah, I'll totally page one rewrite this thing for free. He had to get paid to do that with the director. So the studio, DreamWorks, must have been like, all right, like you want to do a page one rewrite, we'll let you do it. And then they turned in something that was completely different.
I think that's what happened, personally.
Unless they weren't hired to do it, they turned in a page rewrite, and then they said, what is this? This is completely...
That would be bonkers, though.
That's bonkers.
If that's the truth, then that's, out of it.
But that's why I'm saying maybe that did happen, because the fact that it's so close to shooting that it seems like bizarre in general that they just pulled the plug so fast, and maybe something like that did happen.
That's crazy.
Wendy is now insisting to me that we need to have tacos after movie talk.
Yeah.
So that just very well may happen.
I like that.
All right, folks, listen, it's Thursday. Thursday, which means it's time for us to talk about what is opening this week, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. Now, we already talked about one of the films opening this week, The Magnificent Seven. We talked about that on Tuesday. But another little animated film is opening this week as well. Natasha, tell us about it.
Well, Storks is opening this week. Storks deliver babies, or at least they used to. Now they deliver packages for a global internet retail giant. Junior, voiced by Andy Samberg, the company's top delivery stork, lands in hot water when the baby factory produces an adorable but wholly unauthorized girl. Desperate to deliver this bundle of trouble, Junior and his friend Tulip, voiced by Katie Crown, the only human on Stork Mountain, race against time to make their first baby drop before the boss finds out.
Giant sack of crap is a phrase I have used in association with this movie Storks ever since I saw the first little teaser about 6 or 7 months ago. Saw the first trailer, didn't improve it. The last trailer they put out, which was only about 2 weeks ago, I saw it in theater, and I was sitting with Ann, and we were both kind of giggling, and we looked at each other like, this was the first trailer they put out that actually made it look like it might be okay. I went to go see it. Actually, all of us saw it together. Mm-hmm. It ain't half bad. It ain't half bad. I mean, what I said about it is, like, a lot of times you'll say a movie was pretty good and then it ruined the ending. To me, it's actually completely opposite. The movie's pretty good. It's got some good chuckles. It's got some good moments, some nice laugh out loud moments here and there. But then they nail the ending. For me, the ending was amazing. The last 5 minutes or so, there's a couple of techniques they use to end the film that just could have been hit or miss. For me, they knocked it out of the park. There's a good emotional hook at the end. I was getting actually a little choked up for a moment. This is a nice little film. Is it better than Kubo and the Two Strings? No. Is it better than Finding Dory? Probably not. Is it going to be like a serious contender for animated film of the year? Probably not. But I think this is a decent little movie that I think you'll have a good time watching. So I actually kind of liked it. Kristian, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I feel the same way. When I saw this movie, I didn't like the trailers whatsoever, and I thought it was just going to be because WAG, Warner's Animation Group, hasn't done anything too great. So I was like, I don't know what to expect here. It just looks like a generic kind of try to cash grab. And I thought that throughout the first 45 minutes, I was like, this is okay. This is fine. I'm invested enough in the character, but the ending, I found myself caring about the characters a lot more than I thought that I would. There was a nice emotional hook. It was, there was some.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Because I said this to Mark when we were leaving the theater. I thought during that ending sequence, I thought I caught you wiping a tear away.
I did too.
I thought right?
It wasn't a wipe. It wasn't
Are
a tear.
Are you sure?
Wipe. No,
I don't know.
It wasn't.
Anyway, guys, it was a blood tear.
It was not. No, I'm the first to admit.
Like a little nail came out of his eye.
If I got a tear coming out, I'm the first to admit it, but not in that one. But I will tell you that for parents, absolutely.
Yeah.
I emotionally hooked? Yes, 100%. And I thought that there were a lot of great voice work. That Andy Samberg did a great job. I thought our buddy Steve Glickman did a great job. So, yeah, the movie it's not a great movie, but I think it's certainly enjoyable. And I can't wait to show my daughter this weekend, and I'll bring some tissues.
Schnepp, what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a really fun film, and I'll stick with what you guys are saying as well. I mean, I was going to say the things that stood out to me: the pigeon, the wolves, the penguins. So those three in that order, I thought was like the high notes of that film. Our new friend, the king of voiceover, Stephen Kramer Glickman. You'll hear more about him. He did an incredible job. He did lots of multiple voices. Honestly, the end, it was, without saying anything about no spoilers, it's such a beautiful metaphor.
It was.
That's why it just nailed everybody. I found myself getting emotional, and it's like you go through these different characters' journeys, and they're fighting through the most of the film. We come to an end. We get it. It's not going to have everybody's dead at the end. This is not a spoiler, but all the storks are murdered. The girl, the red tulip, is crying. Why?
Just Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, it's
Batman killed them.
Yeah, the seventh seal, the weird death guy comes out. And it's like, let's play chess. It's not that kind of movie.
Actually Miracle on the Hudson. It's just the other telling. It's from the bird's perspective.
That's oh my
they
god!
Didn't make it.
I hadn't seen you that emotional since the last time we went to Taco Bell. Anyway, Mark, what did you think about the film?
I cried too. Just because I was horrified at the premise that a bird can drop a baby off of your house and now you have to raise it. That is a horror movie, kids.
Well, you have to be able to write letters. You're good.
Oh, you got to write letters?
Yeah, you're good. You're
okay, finally, my lack of education comes into play. I loved this premise when I heard about it 9 months ago or whatever it was, because it is hilarious.
Was that a baby joke?
It was not a baby joke. It's just the comedy spills out even when I'm not trying.
9
It's literally
months.
sweating out of my right armpit. I enjoyed this movie for what it was, and Nicholas Stoller is the co-director of it, and he's got a couple comedic hits in there that just floored me. Like Schnepp said, the wolves, without giving anything away, there's a couple other parts in there. Stephen Kramer Glickman was great. Kelsey Grammer as Hunter.
What
Yeah.
awesome. Loved it.
It's really good casting, and so yeah, it's not a Pixar Disney all-time classic. It's a fun movie. I actually think adults can go see by themselves and enjoy.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Natasha's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at this table are going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Natasha, what do we got?
Rogue One, A Star Wars Story is now only 84 short days from hitting theaters, but
Yes!
Disney CEO Bob Iger is bracing people to let them know it won't be as massive as The Force Awakens' $2.1 billion global box office haul. Speaking with Variety about the prospect of the first Star Wars story not connected to the saga, Iger said, "We never felt it would do the level that Force Awakens did, but based on the response to the trailers and posters, the level of interest in Rogue One is as high as it was for Force Awakens." Kristian, buy or sell, Rogue One will...
Comments, because right back to what I just said before about Warner Brothers. This is not stuff that we haven't heard before.
Right.
And this is something that Rogue One, no one thought it would be as popular as The Force Awakens. No one did. And if you did, the only reason you did is because you saw Star Wars in the title. That's it. And it's not going to be because it doesn't have the marketing push, the same marketing push that it'll have a marketing push, obviously, but not the same one, The Force Awakens. It doesn't have the anticipation that The Force Awakens did because we hadn't had, whether you're a fan of the prequels, it's still 10 years later that we had a new Star Wars movie. This is a year later after the last Star Wars movie we had.
Yeah.
It doesn't have Rey. It doesn't have Finn. It's got new characters in it. You're going to see Darth Vader, and that will get people in there. But the other comments as far as it being an experiment or it's being something new, people are like, oh, he called it an experiment. Are you nervous about that? No. You know why? It's an experiment. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, because the thing is, even if it makes $3 billion, still an experiment because it is a standalone movie. They have never done this. It's always been episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. We've never gotten the standalone movies. We've got the Clone Wars that came out, but that's not the same thing. This is a standalone film for the very first time, and he's being cautious. It's a darker film. It's certainly for more adult oriented, so it made sense completely, and there's no reason for panic at all.
Mark, is Iger right? Should we expect that the Rogue One will not equal the success of The Force Awakens?
I totally agree with Bob Iger and Kristian because nothing could ever match the anticipation. The only thing that would come close to the anticipation for Force Awakens was Phantom Menace in 1999. That's the only thing in terms of cinema that could possibly do it because we never thought we were going to get that movie again. When Disney made that announcement, they acquired Lucasfilm and were going to release new Star Wars movies, it was like the shot heard around the galaxy. And now, because Force Awakens, we did get it was a great trailer push. It was a great advertising campaign that started more than a year out from the actual release of the film. You're not supposed to get that with Rogue One. You're not going to get something like this for episode 8 or 9. I don't know that there's ever going to be a movie as anticipated. There's going to be movies that might make more money opening weekend than Force Awakens just because of the way inflation works, and maybe people want to see episode 8 and it edges out in Force Awakens. It's not going to happen with Rogue One. It's not supposed to. Part of me is excited for that it's not an entire franchise, and the future of Star Wars is not riding on Rogue One.
Right.
No,
We don't need this to be great.
That is a great point. Not every new movie has to be bigger and better than the last. If you have the best meal you've ever had in your life, are you going to sniff your nose at a Morton steak later just because it's not the best one you've ever
What
had
about a
in your life?
Sizzler?
But look at Ant-Man.
That was the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, well, look at Ant-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Ant-Man did good. It didn't do great. It did good. Yet it's still set apart on its own as they're building a universe here with Star Wars. It's just because the brand is so recognized already too that people think it needs to do these big blockbuster numbers every year. It's going to do big blockbuster numbers, just not Force Awakens.
And Mark's absolutely right. Like, I mean, how do you match the anticipation we had for The Force Awakens? I mean, that's the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head that would make me even more excited. Episode 8, I've kind of alluded to this before. They show a trailer with a bunch of the Knights of Ren camera angle switch, Luke Skywalker comes in fray, lights up his lightsaber and holds it up like this. I am defecating all over the place. That might do it for me. That's about what's
Please don't be next to John Campea.
Natasha just
When
threw
this
up on herself.
trailer-
by the way.
I did.
The man is
That
going to
was really
just drop a
nasty.
load in his pants, and he's telling you that
You
will happen.
don't want to be around me the first time I see Luke Skywalker turn on his lightsaber.
I
That's
implore
fine.
Disney, do not put Luke Skywalker in the trailer.
But I buy his statement.
It just sounded like something you'd see in South Park, like a bunch of Star Wars nerds, 6,000 of us all pooping our pants at the same time.
And nobody cares. They're like, yeah! That's Ben Kenobi. I just sensed like 8 million people shat in their pants because of Luke Skywalker lighting his lightsaber to
Schnepp.
fight. Hey,
Buy or sell.
I'm gonna
How wooed.
I don't think you're gonna defecate. I don't want you no heart attacks or pooping in the pants. Just enjoy the trailer.
Misa gonna wipe?
Misa can't have a comeback after all that.
What are we talking about?
Hoodoo.
It's going to make $1 billion. I think, you know.
think it's gonna do $1
Yeah,
billion?
it's going to do $1 billion easy. Rogue One, like when they announced, like you said, there's nothing that beats even the Phantom Menace when they announced that they're doing episode 7. I became a 12-year-old again. That promise of 12 episodes, and then it got, you know, down to 9, and then the reality of, oh, it's only going to be 6. You know, that the promise was there when I was a little kid, and it's so cool to see that actually happening, something we never thought would happen. And I love Force Awakens. I know a lot of people did not like it, but I'm one of those people, not one, millions of other people love the film too. So I'm looking forward to Rogue One, and I like that it's a separate film. I'm really glad that they're breaking off and doing something different. I think what he's just doing is just preparing people, once again, shareholders, to be like, look, don't expect $3 billion. Right. Expect, I'm sure it will make $1 billion unless it's horrible, unless the reviews are like D, you know, it's like it's horrible, avoid Rogue One, and I don't
still
think that's
make
gonna
$600 million.
It'll still make an incredible amount of money, but yeah, I think it's just a cautionary, like, relax, it's gonna make a lot of money. Han Solo and Episode 8 are gonna make way more. This is an experiment because it's not the same as what everyone's used to. So.
All right, let's move on. What's the next topic?
Okay, the first poster for John Wick Chapter 2 debuted yesterday, and soon after, director Chad Stahelski spoke to EW about what we might expect from the follow-up to the Keanu Reeves actioner. The director revealed that there is twice as much action in John Wick 2, with a special mention about the car stunts in the film, which he teased as a great portion of the film and even begins with a long car chase. John Wick Chapter 2 opens in theaters on February 10th, 2017. Schnepp, buy or sell twice as much action in John Wick Chapter 2.
Totally buy this twice. I can't wait to see this movie. We all love John Wick, the original film. Didn't expect much from it, to be honest with you. When I heard John Wick, I was like, all right, Keanu's in another action film. Saw him with the, you know, the beard, and I was like, all right, he's looking a little different. And then saw the movie, and my mind was blown. I was so into the way the action scenes were shot, you know, just down to the precision dome shots, just the kind of gun fu type of activity that they had in it. Love the Continental. We've talked many times about, like, even when the movie came out, we want to just see a movie called The Continental. I think that John Wick 2 is going to honor that promise as well as move the movie forward with that kind of insane action. They're talking about it starts with a car chase to just break all car chases, and there's even more car chases. I'm starting to freak out just talking about it. I just want to see the movie right now. Can you make it happen?
You know, it's funny. We hear this comment. He says there's going to be twice as much action, and both Josh McCouga and Riley said, "Well, what? Do you make the movie 4 hours long? Like, how do you double the action of the first John Wick?" But the fact that they are is great, and a lot of people forget these guys who did like the first John Wick, and now they're got their hands on the second one. They're also the guys who were the second unit director. That basically means the action sequences a lot of times. They were the second unit directors for Captain America: Civil War. Yep. And what do we always rave about that movie? Was the action, like from the first action scene to the last action scene. And one of the things they did so great in that first movie, and I know I've said this before, but me and Perry were talking about this last night. It really reminds me of this. What John Wick does in that first movie, he goes so violent and does such horrible things to people in that movie. As an audience member, how do we get the audience to buy in that he is justified to do that?
Puppy.
You showed the mob. You showed the mob, instead of his wife dying, you showed the mob murdering his wife. Yeah, okay, he'd be mad. He'd be very mad. Yeah, but I still don't know if he get there. What they did to that puppy, and I've joked about this before, but I swear this would happen. We're sitting in the movie theater around people, and that happened in the scene where, like, the puppy died, and I could hear, like, 18-year-old girls in the audience says, "That mother effer's gotta die." Like you hear, like the whole audience was now going, John Wick, you go get them. But with the puppy, it was a brilliant, almost like it was kind of like a pseudo MacGuffin in a way that puppy represented. In the way they did that, what kicks them into action this time? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to find out. What do you think?
Two puppies.
I buy that we're gonna get a lot of action in this movie because it's a sequel. So is the bigger? Is it better though? That's going to be the main question.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm not worried about, but I just want to make sure is that it just because the thing is with the first one, as much action and great action that we got in the first one, we were invested in what was going on. And granted, it was the puppy, and there was something about the John Wick character, and it wasn't such a complex story, but it was enough of a story that we were still following it from start to finish. I don't want the action to take away from that. I want to make sure that we just out of nowhere, he's sitting in traffic, and then he just gets out and starts kicking the guy behind him, and then gets back out. There's got to be a reason why everything's happening. Right. So and I believe that that's exactly what is going to be the case. But these guys are on fire. I mean, I've even watching the Civil War commentary again, which is up on the channel now. If you watching all of those scenes, and you just watch what these are some talented dudes. So I'm excited to see it. And Keanu Reeves can do action very well, as he showed in the first one. So I'm looking forward, and he pushes himself. He's very similar to what Tom Cruise does, not all the way through hanging off buildings and stuff, but he's similar to where he throws himself into it 110% during the action.
Mark, buy or sell this?
I'm going to side with Kristian here. I actually sell that it's going to be twice as much action if you want to quantify it, if you want to make it a statistic. It's not going to be twice as much action. I really hope it's half the amount of puppies getting hurt, but I don't need all that action. I love the action of the first John Wick, but some of the humor in John Wick really worked. Yeah. Getting to explore the Continental, getting to see what this guy's backstory is. So I don't need this to be just slam bang mindless action for 2 hours. I'd like to have some sort of story in there. Why is he going on this? Is he breaking up a dogfighting ring? Like what's he? what could possibly possess this man to go twice as crazy as he did the first time when his dog met his end?
All right, what's next?
According to THR, it's being reported that Paramount's parent company, Viacom, has cited a major write-down in the company's film unit for a title that is months away from hitting theaters, with sources telling the outlet the movie in question is Monster Trucks. Viacom lowered its earnings forecast in the fourth quarter, citing a programming impairment charge of $115 million that is related to the expected performance of the film. John, buy or sell the prospect of Monster Trucks losing $115 million for Paramount?
Oh, yeah! Came out early 2015. It then gets pushed to the December of that year. Then it got pushed to earlier last year, and now it's pushed to January. Still 4 months away. And how big of a stinger is this thing going to be? When they come out and they say, yeah, we're expecting to lose over $100 million on this piece of crap. I mean, look, those trailers are just like, I'm wondering at some point, this thing was supposed to come out in 2015. At what point do you just go, guys, we're going to lose $100 million. Let's just pull the plug on this thing. No more money into the marketing, no more money. Look, let's just call it a day and pull the plug, because you put it out, maybe you recoup a little bit of the money, but you damage your brand, you damage the studio. By putting something like this looks horrible. And if they're saying they're expecting a $115 million loss, what does it tell you? It tells you that they don't think it's any good, because they don't have a belief that let's get this in theaters and get some people to see it because positive word of mouth will. No. They're saying, look, we just know we're going to lose a lot of money on this. Which, look, then just pull the plug. So, yeah, I buy that. I haven't seen a single person watch this trailer and not chuckle at it in the wrong way. So, I don't know, Kristian, what do you think?
Oh, I buy this is going to lose a lot of money. I mean, it reminds me, when I look at these trailers, you remember like the Dirt Bike Kid and all those movies?
Yes.
It reminds me of something you'd see on VHS right before you watch like something else, and they're trying to pump like the old school direct to VHS movies. Yeah. That's what this seems like. But I also feel like it was a practical joke by someone who got fired there recently. And right before they left, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to green like that. I'm going to green like that. Oh, yeah, sure. You want to get Lucas Till in there to be the lead and the MacGyver kid? Sure. And then put Monster Truck. Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, I'm going to Hawaii next week. It looks so bad. I mean, how much money did it cost to make? The overall budget, did they say?
Oh, who knows?
Whatever it is, it's like this movie shouldn't have cost $35. It's like, it is going to be a travesty. I think that it is guaranteed to be on everybody here's probably top 10 worst list next year. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping we see it in January and this thing makes buckets of cash. But It ain't happening.
Mark.
This is why Paramount pays Tom Cruise and Optimus Prime whatever they demand to stay in their movies, because you have situations like this. I totally buy that it could lose as much or not more than $150 million. Favorite part of this story is how they deemed it a programming impairment charge. That's a really that's like a pimp saying, "Oh no, I'm a nighttime escort entertainer procurer." Like, we know what you are. It's, you know the movie's gonna bomb. Admit it.
All right, what's next? I'm not even going to make you answer it.
I'm just going to say, all I want to say about it is what one of you guys told me about this, and I didn't believe that it was real. Like, it was like a year ago. You got to see this trailer. I was like, no way. And as I watched it, I was laughing out loud at the stupidity of this movie. I was like, I can't believe they actually made this film. How did that happen? And then it got delayed. So I hope it makes $100 billion.
It was so fun.
Yeah, you know what? You know what really sucks about this is I think Paramount got a raw deal with Star Trek Beyond. That movie deserved to make a lot more money. They deserved to make more money, and this is really unfortunate. Okay, what's next?
Okay, director Duncan Jones announced on Twitter that production on his new sci-fi movie Mute will commence production in 1 week. The movie is said to be set in the same universe as his critically acclaimed Moon, and is the third movie in a trilogy that includes Moon and its follow-up Source Code. Mute stars Paul Rudd and Alexander Skarsgård, with a release date yet to be announced. Schnepp, buy or sell Duncan Jones's Mute as being better received than his Warcraft?
I buy this so hard. I've been waiting for this for years. I remember when he was talking about making this film Mute. It's going to take place in the same world as Moon. This is even before Source Code, and it's going to have, you know, the same exact kind of environments. It's going to be a lot of Blade Runner kind of references. I thought Moon was fantastic. It's one of my top 100 sci-fi films. I think Duncan Jones is an incredibly talented guy, and Source Code was fun. I really love Moon, so I'm looking forward to this. I'm glad they're going to start shooting, because that means I get to see it. So the sooner they start shooting and finish it and get it in theaters, then I get to enjoy it, because the premise alone just sounds fantastic.
Mark, what do you think?
Oh, huge buy for me. This is the kind of storytelling I want to see Duncan Jones do. I love that it can be in the same universe, but it's not a direct sequel to either Moon or Source Code. It just exists in the same time as place. I like the town involved. Big buy for me.
Kristian.
Huge buy. It's part of canon. That's all I needed to be in his universe. Look, we're going to give Warcraft as a mulligan for him as far as great filmmaking goes, because Moon, and I thought Source Code was great. I loved it. So to go back in this universe, this is something he absolutely should be doing. I agree with Mark. Big buy.
I'm gonna sell it. While I am excited about the movie, and I liked Warcraft. Come on, guys. And I'm excited about the movie. This whole thing about calling it it's the same cinematic universe, a part of a trilogy. Come on, man. Source Code had nothing to do with Moon. So I mean, it was kind of cute the first time Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg called their what was
the
they
Cornetto
called? The Cornetto.
trilogy.
They call it the Cornetto trilogy. Okay, that's cute, but it's not a trilogy. They're in no way connected unless Mute somehow ties all the threads
Sam
together.
Rockwell, one of the clones. There's like two clones eating a sandwich.
I mean,
they walk
hey,
by
but I am really looking forward to this movie. All right, folks. Well, listen, we do this show live every day, Monday through Fridays. That means we save a little bit of time at the end of our show to take your Twitter questions. If you've got a Twitter question you'd like to ask, make sure you send it on in to us. Follow us at Collider Video and start firing some Twitter questions, and Wendy will get to those near the end of the show. I also want to remind you that Movie Talk is not the only show on Collider Video today. A little bit later today, we got Jedi Council, where Kristian Harloff is going to be up. Make sure you guys check that out. That will drop at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And don't forget, tomorrow's Josh McCouga and Clark Wolf. They go at it on the Schmodown. But for now, let's get to our mailbag questions. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address, just email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Send on in those questions. We take a couple every day. So, Natasha, what's in the mailbag?
Okay, Gabe Nakamura writes, "Hello, Movie Talk crew. Is it just a matter of time before we get a film adaptation of the Broadway show Hamilton? I'd like to see it, but it'll be a tough project for any filmmaker to take on. If it were to happen, who can you see directing it? For some reason, I can see Phil Lord and Chris Miller doing it. Thanks, and keep up the great work."
Yeah, Hamilton will definitely happen as a motion picture at some point. It's far too popular, and it will work as a movie, and it'll be. I think it'll be great. Lord and Miller, I love these guys. I do not see this being the right project for them, Mark.
I don't see it being the right project for them, although I would like their spin on it. It's definitely going to happen because Hamilton tickets are impossible to get for like $1,000. So you can go see Hamilton and it's a semi-good production of it, or it's just a movie telling of it, but you get the story for $15. I'm in.
Kristian.
Yeah. What about Baz Luhrmann?
He would totally work
and
for
then
that.
dude is doing a Whiplash and La La Land. Damien,
not Bashir. Sorry, that's the actor.
The director.
I can't remember.
God, we're unbelievable. Sorry I did that to everybody. But
I am going to go with Chicago's director Rob Marshall. I think
Yeah,
he would
that
do a
is- that's his
fantastic
wheelhouse.
job. I haven't seen Hamilton yet. I want to see it, but
I'm gonna go with Michael Bay. I want to see that duel scene.
and Mark Ellis was never heard of again.
All right, what's next?
Eric Warner writes, with the release of The Magnificent Seven this week and the score created by the late, great James Horner, which movie score of his is your favorite? Mine would have to be Aliens. However, Glory is a close second. Thanks so much.
Oh yeah, Glory is great. That's one that people don't talk about enough.
Right.
But I know you were talking a little bit earlier, Mark, about the ones you like. What are some of the ones you liked?
I am gonna go with Titanic. It feels weird to say that, but like I know everybody thinks that the Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On. When you listen to the score, that it feels magical. You feel romantic when you watch it. It's a really good score, and it complements the movie so well without overtaking it.
Braveheart, no doubt about it, is one of the best of all time. And then Legends of the Fall was a similar. And actually, with the Magnificent Seven, you can hear parts of Legends of the Fall in that movie.
Braveheart.
Mine is
That's mine.
Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan. I
Awesome.
love the action themes that he did. I can always hear them in my mind when he's like, "I will follow you, Kirk." It's really cool, James.
My
Horner
last
screen.
breath I spit at
That's
thee.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, so good. All right, guys, that'll do it for Mailbag. Listen, now we're going to get to our Twitter questions. Remember, once again, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Collider Video. Firing them all in. Wendy's watching that board right now. So, Wendy, what do we got?
Andrea Anderson says, Mattson says, what would be your ultimate and toughest celebrity schmodown? And would Tarantino be the knockout champion?
Pretty good.
Tarantino would be real good.
Although I don't know how he'd be at some of the other big blockbuster stuff. Yeah, you know, his classic knowledge and all that stuff.
I think
wonder-
Tarantino might call in his time as a video store clerk,
Yeah.
might help him out with some of those
Some old
blockbuster
That would
gaps.
totally
I think
help him.
Kevin
Yeah.
Smith is
Yeah,
a
Kevin
fountain of
Smith would be
knowledge,
good.
and
Yeah.
I don't see him having a blank spot in the category.
Well, if we do a Star Wars one, I want to see Pablo Hidalgo go up against Dave Filoni. That's what I want.
Elijah Wood is
Oh, yeah?
very versed in Hollywood and Hollywood history and Hollywood. He's also a hell of a poker player, but he's a guy who'd be formidable.
Like you said, I'd like to see Kevin Smith against Quentin Tarantino. That would be like an insane match.
Oh, you would be awesome at it, Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd Kaufman would be very, very
From
good at
Troma
that.
Pictures?
Yeah, the
Really?
dude
Wow.
knows like everything about every studio from day one.
Let's
to
get
present day.
Lloyd
It's-
Kaufman on, dude. Come on,
I've-
Kristian.
I've had him on
that's
my
up to
show
them.
before. He's
You
great.
Tweet at people you want to see in a Schmodown. Do it.
All right, what's next?
I'm going to start tweeting Lloyd Kaufman.
Do it. Everybody tweet at everybody.
Frank Torres says, what one film would you watch at the Hollywood Bowl with a live orchestra playing the score?
Oh, you know what I never would have thought of was E.T. until 2 years ago. I was at the John Williams concert at the Hollywood Bowl, and they took the final 10 minutes of E.T. without the score, played it on the screen, and then John Williams and his orchestra played it. And I'm like, I could do this all day. And then they did that this year with a scene from Star Trek Into Darkness, which you wouldn't have thought would work, but worked really well for me. Godfather for me. If you have Godfather and have an orchestra playing with that, I would totally dig it. What about you, Kristian?
Inception, because I saw Hans Zimmer play. You see, I think it's still on YouTube. Him playing Time, which is part of Inception, in the end, live, and it's crazy. So I would love to see that whole movie scored.
I'm going to go with Back to the Future. That Alan Silvestri
that would be
score is
fun.
amazing, but then you could also bring out like an electric guitar and play Johnny B. Good live. It would be fantastic.
Bring out Huey Lewis.
Yes.
A deep cut here. Once Upon a Time in the West, and have Ennio Morricone just playing that harmonica and the electric guitar. Just that'd be fantastic.
Natasha, would you got a movie that you would love to see, like the play long?
Yeah. Okay. Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. That would be so cool live. I love that soundtrack. And I'd also say Harry Potter, but I know they already do it, so I gotta
Not the
get
whole
tickets
movie
to
though.
that.
Not the whole movie.
Not
Not the whole
film.
movie. Oh.
Natasha, would you go see E.T.?
Oh,
As long as the ghostly ET isn't like showing up on screen. I don't know. Maybe.
We'll make sure there's Sizzler and El Pollo Loco.
If I have
And a
Sizzler
whole
and
bunch of
Taco
different-
Bell, then I
Yeah.
can get over the ghostly ET and watch it at home.
All right, what's next?
Robert Mock says, if Ghost in the Shell does good, do you think they'll give Dragon Ball Z a try again and do it right?
I think there are certain properties that could come out that if those did well, it increases the chances of another Dragon Ball Z. I don't know that Ghost in the Shell is that equivalent. I just don't see those two things like one of these things is not like the other.
Akira is more likely to happen. If Ghost in the
Ghost in
Shell
the Shell,
is a
yeah,
giant
that's a better
hit, you're going to
comparison.
see Akira like fast-tracked.
I agree with that, but I also will say I do think Dragon Ball Z is going to be. It needs to be because that was
It
an
eventually
insult.
will be.
Right, yeah,
but
Eventually,
just not
regardless, but not
because of
connected
this,
to
correct.
Mark.
Yeah, the topic comes up in my household often, and I don't think there's another movie like it that's going to be like, oh, since this movie did well, we can do Dragon Ball Z. I think the fan base is already there. You just have to do it right because they really care about DBZ.
If they re-release Schindler's List and it does well, could Dragon Ball Z be coming soon? Yeah, maybe. All right, what's next?
Haiku Fistbach says, if you could make a sci-fi B movie, what would it be called and what would it be about?
Oh, Schnepp and the Dark Knight Barbecue.
Yeah,
That's my
Battle
sci-fi.
against the stars. What's up? It's just like
Against the
everybody's like the
stars.
universe is imploding. Get everyone. So everyone's loading up, fighting the stars.
I put sloppy chop suey.
Nice.
It's a sci-fi epic.
Yeah, mine would be R2-D2 House, where R2-D2 is the bouncer at the Double Deuce instead of Patrick Swayze, and R2-D2 is just this little unassuming bouncer who just beats the crap out of rednecks who get too drunk.
I like it.
Sloppy
All right,
chop
let's
suey.
take two more.
Okay, Andre says, how far in advance of a big movie should the trailer or teaser be released? Isn't this time for a Power Ranger trailer?
No, I'm actually, look, we talked about John Wick a little while ago. They dropped the first trailer for John Wick about 4 weeks before the movie came out. I mean, really, look, it's great that movies will put out a tease a year in advance. It's great that they put out 6 months in advance. When does it need to come out? I honestly don't think it's that far out. I think it's like 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months is when you need to. Totally cool if you do it earlier, but I don't think you're in any trouble if you don't release one until about 3 months out.
I'd be nervous about Power Rangers, though, because we still haven't seen the trailer for that, and that should be a big blockbuster. John Wick, when the first one came out, wasn't on the tip of everybody's tongue as this great action franchise. It was this movie with Keanu Reeves. We didn't know that much about it, but Power Rangers is something everybody's anticipating. We've seen some images, some posters. We want to see that trailer, or else we're going to start to panic. I think 6 months for a big blockbuster film seems right on par.
What do you think, Kristian?
Yeah, I think between 5 and 6 months. I also think it depends on scale of the movie. It depends on scale of the franchise. Like something like John Wick, nobody really knew what it was. So if you put it out about a month beforehand, it's like, oh, I remember. I just saw that about a month ago. That sounds good. And you're introducing everybody. The second one, the trailer won't come out about a month. It'll be about 2-3 months. And I think that's fine for that scale. Bigger movies, like Episode 8, I want to see about 8 or 9 months before it's like, oh, it's coming soon.
Right.
Then you tease it again.
You want a teaser.
It depends on scale.
Yeah.
Wendy, let me. When you see trailers, like how early is too early for a trailer to come out?
I actually think 8 to 9 months is a bit early even for the big ones because I tend to like forget about it or I'm over anticipating it. And then by the time the movie hits, I've hyped myself up so much. Then I walk in and I'm like, oh, it's not as great. Like I have too much time to build myself up for that hype. And then I'm kind of a little disappointed leaving that movie.
Yeah, a lot of people had Amazing Spider-Man 2 fatigue before Amazing Spider-Man 2 even came out.
Because we'd seen half the movie.
We'd seen half the movie.
The other
and
thing
seen
too is
long.
when they do it right, like what they did with Force Awakens, a proper teaser. They really did a great teaser, then another great first trailer, and then the final trailer was a month or two before the movie. I think like John Wick 2, they should release that first trailer right at the beginning of January. Because I think, you have the holidays and all this other stuff. If they do a teaser, then drop it in right around December. I mean, I think 3 months is the perfect time because then you don't have to keep using the same kind of footage and spoiling it for everyone.
You're talking about full trailer, right?
Yeah.
All right, last question of the day.
All right, Courtney Hayes says, what sport makes the best movie and what sport makes the worst? Baseball and basketball, respectively, for me.
Basketball. I enjoy basketball. Basketball movies.
Just like maybe 3 that you can
Hoosiers was great.
White Men Can't Jump is a great basketball movie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's maybe 3.
Teen Wolf is a great basketball
That's all you got. I think boxing makes really good movies when they're done right. There are sometimes that they're done terribly, but if you can hit a boxing story, and I think that MMA, I think once they start, Warrior to me
Was
proved
great.
you could do a great MMA. It's every other MMA movie that hasn't been Warrior always involves crime, whether it's red belt or fighting. It's like, stop doing crime stories with it. Give me an actual movie because you can see what that sport can do.
I think tennis is going to have a big
McEnroe.
What was the one with
McEnroe
with
thing
Paul
for
Bettany though?
2017?
There was a
Match
tennis
Point.
Was it Match Point? It was
Not a sports movie though.
yeah, but anyway, but hockey has done a couple of really good ones. You guys have not seen the Russell Crowe movie Mystery Alaska.
Oh yeah.
Check out Mystery. It's so good. Miracle.
Been Wimbledon was the one. That,
Wimbledon's the one I'm
Paul
thinking
Bettany
of.
was
Thank
saying.
you very
but
much.
I think hockey, golf is an underrated sport to put on screen. I don't think that they've attempted
Cup.
it enough. But Tin Cup is great.
Caddyshack.
Caddyshack is obviously hilarious. Caddyshack 2.
Happy
we
Gilmore.
don't talk about here. Happy Gilmore is another
Yeah.
one. I think the hardest one is basketball though, simply because it's hard. Basketball is the hardest sport to fake having skill at. You can run like a wide receiver. You can look like a baseball player. But in order to dribble a basketball and to pull off a jump shot well, it is very hard to do if you're not actually great at basketball.
All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for us for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us today. Listen, remember, the most important part of this show is not what we have to say. It's what you have to say. Get the conversation going. Jump into the comments section. Leave your thoughts on any or all the topics that we discussed here today. I want to thank, first of all, the guy sitting at the table with me, sitting on my left, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you?
You can find me watching Gabe Kaplan's basketball film tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not here. I'm just going to check it out. And just at Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp.
Sitting over here on my right, Mr. Kristian Harloff. Kristian, where can people find you?
You can catch me watching Blue Chips on loop. Make sure you find me, Kristian Harloff, Twitter and Instagram. Like John mentioned, Jedi Council goes up today and tomorrow. The last first-round match between Josh McCouga and Classy Clark Wolf.
Sitting on the end, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you?
I will be at the Juana Man Fan Convention this weekend. Looking forward to see all your smiling faces there. I'm at the Comedy Store this Saturday night. Big show, 7 p.m. main room. You can get tickets at markellislive.com.
The table over there, we got Natasha and Wendy. Natasha, where can people find you?
You guys can find me at Taco Bell and or El Pollo Loco and on Twitter and Instagram at NatashaLexis_.
And you can find me getting tacos with Natasha and also on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
What's wrong with Chipotle?
And of course, you guys can
lot.
follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram simply at Jon Campea. And make sure you subscribe to Comic-Con HQ for mine and Schnepp's show, Film HQ. Special thanks to the guys behind the camera, and a special thanks to you guys. So thanks for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.
Batman
Guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.